To get started, there's obviously a few different ways you can do it. Now, everyone wants to know about the freebies. So let's talk about the freebies. And the reason I do the quotes is because nothing's free. That's the sad reality of it. But people always want to know how to get freebies. First thing people think about is, oh, well, you know, my buddy's got bees in the wall of his house, and I'm just going to go pull those out. That's cool, right? You know what? Go for it. Be my guest. However, I do not recommend that for a beginner. I'm telling you guys, I've been doing it now for over 2 years, and I'm still not perfect. There's a big learning curve to doing this, to getting bees out of a structure. I mean, the bees can run, you can have structural issues that you weren't expecting, you can have wires in the wall, pipes in the wall, and I know that sounds silly, but the first time you try cutting honeycomb out from around a wire that's running through the wall, it's a lot harder than it sounds, I promise you. And you know, the whole time you got to be diligent. You're worried about the damage that you're doing to this person's house, or the potential damage, you know, what they're going to have to repair. So you want to do minimal impact, stuff like that. Anyway, that's kind of off subject. So let's talk about just the cost of getting bees. Again, if you're thinking about doing a removal, again, I don't recommend that for a beginner. But if you're hard, you know, you want to do it, sure, go for it. But aside from, you know, the risks involved, there's a lot of stress on the bees too, so you very well may go and invest several hours of your time into trying to pull these bees out of this wall, and at the end of the day, you might not bring home a live colony of bees. The stress of the work might kill them. You might lose the queen. The stress of the move might let beetles or other pests get the upper hand and destroy the colony. So, you know, it's no guarantee, and you're going to go spend a lot of time working on this, and you're going to get stung, most likely, especially if you're a beginner, which I'm not saying I still get stung, but you're probably going to get stung, you're going to get messy, there's going to be honey on everything. So yeah, I don't recommend it, but if you want to, go for it. The better way to get free bees is to try to catch a swarm. Now, there's two ways to go about catching a swarm. You can chase swarms, or you can trap swarms. Chasing swarms, again, I don't really recommend unless it's right in your backyard or it's close to your house and you know you can get there and you know you can get them. Because here's what happens when you're chasing a swarm. You've got to know, or you've got to let everyone that you possibly know, let them know you're looking for bees. Then you've got to keep your eyes peeled, hoping to get lucky and see a swarm somewhere. Everyone that you've talked to has to have it on the front of their mind, looking for a swarm or hoping to get lucky. You know, people have to know that you're looking, and they have to have your phone number. They have to know to call you, that you're looking for bees. And the odds of that happening, still not that good. Again, I've been doing removals and I've been working with bees and, you know, trying to advertise what I do for over 2 years now in Houston. And honestly, I get more removal calls than I do swarm calls. Most people don't really know what to do with the swarm, either that or they just kind of let it go. I mean, you guys can search through my videos. I think I've captured less than 10, maybe 6 swarms. And I've done over 50 removal jobs. So, you know, the removals are a bigger problem. People see a swarm on a tree, they're like, eh, whatever, they'll go away. Bees in the house, people want to get rid of. So I don't get a whole lot of swarm calls, to be honest with you. And it seems like a lot of them that I do get, they're on the other side of town. Houston's a big, big town. I'm not driving an hour and a half to go try to catch a swarm. I'm just not. It's not worth it. So the risk with the swarm is that, you know, you might not ever get a call. If you do, it might be an hour and a half away. And the thing with swarms is they can be there 3 minutes, they can be there 3 days. You never know. They're going to be there as long as they need to be there, and then they're going to move on. So there's a good chance you go running across town to try to catch them, and when you get there, they're gone. And that's it. You just wasted a lot of time and you didn't get any bees. The better thing to do, and actually, even when you do that, you know, the first swarm I ever caught, I drove an hour, got them, everything went perfect. I caught the queen. I thought it was a textbook job. Took them home, put on a jar of sugar water, released the queen. The next day, they took off. They sucked that sugar water dry and took off. So I spent all that time and drove, you know, 2.5 hours round trip. Still didn't have any bees. They just didn't like my box. They were still in that, you know, swarm mentality. They wanted to keep moving. So the better thing to do with swarms is to try to trap a swarm. And when I say trap, you're not really trapping. I mean, obviously you can't get the bees stuck in a box because they need to be able to go in and out as they choose to go get food and resource and everything else. But what we do is we set out what we call bait hives or swarm traps. And you just, you know, set an empty beehive in your backyard, or you can go out in the woods behind your house if you've got access to a spot, or, you know, local, anywhere that you've got local rural property that the people are okay with you setting out hives or empty boxes. And just hang a few empty boxes on the side of a tree. I recommend using actual beehive bodies with frames in them. That way, when you do go to get the bees out of the trap, it's just as easy as moving the frames. Put in a couple frames in foundation. You'll want to reduce an entrance down so that birds don't get in there and build a nest, something like that. But yeah, you just go out and basically hang an empty box on a tree, and you can put in some bait if you want, some lemongrass oil or some queen pheromone or whatever you want to put in there to help your odds. But other than that, you're just waiting on, you're waiting to get lucky, and your hope is that if a swarm moves through the woods and they're looking for a home, they're going to find your box and they're going to find it acceptable and move right in. In certain areas, you can have a hot spot and you can get lucky. A buddy of mine here actually has sold me a couple hives since then. He set out swarm traps this spring just for grins, and he had 7 swarms. Now, of that, a few were after swarms, so he combined those with others. But in the end, he had 4 hives, queen right hives, just by setting out empty boxes in his backyard. Now, are y'all going to get that lucky? Probably not, but it all depends on your area. I mean, down here in Houston, this is very, very bee-friendly terrain from what I found. The climate is very supportive of bees. A lot of flowers, a lot of wild vegetation and flora. So, the bees, they do well, aside from the pests. But yeah, he ended up with 4 colonies, which he lost 1 to beetles, and then when he sold them to me, I lost 1 to beetles. So we ended up with 2 total, but still, it was 2 free colonies of bees just by taking the time to go set out the boxes. The key there is that you're not wasting a lot of time. You're not running all over town chasing these swarms. You just set out a few boxes, and once a week you go walk the lines and see if you got anything. I actually caught a swarm in my backyard this summer by doing that. I never expected it. Had a stack of boxes set up, threw a lid on it. I just had them stored there, wasn't even thinking. And look out one day, and there you go, a swarm is moving into this empty beehive in my backyard. So, they will do it. They will do it happily. So, the risk there, though, with swarm trapping is you're not guaranteed to ever get anything. A swarm, you may never get a swarm to move in, ever. And that's fine, because you haven't invested a lot of time or effort into it. But if you're wanting to get started into beekeeping, and you want to get started into beekeeping, you need to just, plan on buying your bees. So I'm going to cut this video off here on how to get the freebies. I think I covered everything. Again, cutouts, I do not recommend for a beginner, but if you want to, go for it. If you're in the middle of a cutout and you don't know what to do, you can call me. I can't promise you that I'm going to be able to help you a whole lot, but just take my word for it. After you've been working with bees for, a few months or a year or whatever, and you're comfortable with working with the bees, and you kind of start to learn how to read the bees, learn their reaction to things, what they're doing and why they're doing it, then you can start taking on cutouts. And again, like I said, I'm still not perfect at it. There's a lot of variables involved. But, it's fun. So I encourage y'all to try it at some point. Just I don't encourage it for a beginner. And my computer's shutting down on me for no reason. Anyway, and then yeah, for swarms, again, if you want to chase swarms, be my guest. But you gamble on the fact that they're still going to be there, and you gamble on the fact that they're going to stay in the box once you bring them home. If you want to trap swarms, that's great. I need to do it more. I've just been, for the first 2 years, I've been building boxes just as fast as I can to keep up with what I've been doing. I'm hoping this next spring I'll finally get around to setting out some swarm traps, because it seems down here that you have pretty good odds of catching swarms, and hey, we all like those freebies. So with that, I'm going to cut this one off on the idea of freebies, and I'll upload another video here for you guys on how to go about buying your bees and a little cost comparison on the pros and cons of the different ways that you can buy your bees.